Well, hey, welcome to my channel, and beautiful spring day out here. The ramps are just coming up. I want to talk about how to sustainably harvest these because they do take a long time to grow. We'll get into that, and different ways to prepare them. It's a plant that comes up, the first plant of the spring. They'll be around until the foliage comes onto the leaves. Then after that, you won't see this plant at all, but you might clear a little brush here so you can see this better. You'll find 2 to 3 leaves per plant. This is several different onions, and occasionally you'll find the flowers and seeds from last year. An important thing to look for, and I do want to put those seeds back on the ground. We're just trying to help ensure that these keep going. Now, if you dig the whole plant up, let me break down in here. You'll find a nice bulb, and here's a good example of how they grow, how they spread out. This is one sprouting from another, so two ramps, and the bulb splitting. That's the second way that they reproduce, but they do it very, very slowly. So rather than to dig the ramp out, bulb and all, what I far prefer doing, just coming in and cutting above the bulb to make my harvest. That bulb is going to send new leaves up fairly soon, but this guy, that's done. You pick the bulbs, they're gone. So, please be real cautious out there. Practice some safe, sustainable harvesting. These ramps are everywhere. They're absolutely delicious. We're going to go dig a few more up. Then we'll talk about how to cook them. I think we'll have maybe at least 5 different ways to cook them. On identifying, something I better go over again. Usually you're going to find a burgundy color toward the base. Not always. Sometimes they're just white. Nice long green leaf. If they're damaged leaves, yeah, you don't want that. In fact, that whole plant's got quite a few. Take a closer look at the bottom. Just a gentle pull while you dig. So we have the burgundy down to the roots. Not always. That is an asexual reproduction happening. That's one sprout turning into another. It's pretty simple. The entire plant is edible. Always make sure you smell it. You'll just smell a distinct garlic flavor. Delicious. Just absolutely delicious. And the entire plant is edible, top to bottom. We're going to leave the damaged leaf. It'll be fine. There's another little one right next to it. That'll be our start for our next batch. As you're walking around, you'll run across plenty of singles to small, tiny batches. You want to leave those alone. Don't dig them. They'll never grow back. Come in about 2 to 3 inches from the base and straight down. If you can dig the bulbs, break that ground up. Give a little pull, a little shake. And we have a small ramp in here. In fact, we have 2 small ramps. I'm going to try to break that one off the bulb. Now those 2 will be fine. They'll grow right back. And cleaning them, nothing simpler. Just peel that outer skin off, get off the roots. I'll give them a little smack together, shake some of that dirt off. Okay, so we've been out in the woods and we have found some nice ramps. We picked them. The next step is to clean them. It's quite simple. Literally, all you have to do, cut the root end off and peel that slimy outer skin off. Give it a rinse, check the leaves, make sure they're clean, and that's good. Sometimes they're growing in pairs. Once again, you just pull the outer skin off, get rid of any dirt, inspect the leaves. You want to make sure there's no dirt in there. I've already rinsed these off, so I know they're good. So let's get going on some dishes. First one, I'm going to take a little shortcut here because I have got plenty of ramp salt. We're going to get into that one. To make ramp salt, I just take the bulb end. That's it. Cut them in half and give them a good dusting of salt. Then they're going to just go in the dehydrator. Run those things completely dry, absolutely dry, and then simply grind it up in a coffee grinder or something to make an excellent seasoning, which takes us into another one. Little ramp seasoned steak, and I will serve that with some sauteed ramps. So give me just a minute to go wash up. I'll be right back. Next one up's another real easy one. We're going to saute some ramps, and we're going to make a compound butter. That's another one that's just too easy to explain. But you do want to saute your ramps. That'll kill off any little buggers in there. Get a stick of butter going. I'm just going to start off with one. Come in and dice up our ramps. And if I seem like I'm in a hurry, it's because I'm running out of daylight. See that shallow line? Now with ramp butter, you can use the whole ramp, or you can just use the bulbs. That's all up to you. I like to chop them up, just a coarse chop. Three or four ramps, that'll do you for a pound of butter. Okay, that's moving along nice. We're going to add the rest of our butter now. Transfer your ramp butter into some small containers, something you can freeze, because this stuff will only last about a week or so in your refrigerator. You know, it'll start turning moldy, just generally go bad. The ramp butter is just fantastic. You can use it to make, similar to garlic bread, use it on artisan breads, put it on steaks. There's just 1,000 uses for it. Something I encourage you to try. Real simple. So give that one a go. Now let's get off to your next recipe. So folks, one quick reminder, as this cools down, you need to give it a shake. See how that's separated out? So give it some shakes, just every few minutes. Sometimes I'll lay them upside down, you know, as long as you got a good seal. You want to keep the ramps pretty distributed, fairly distributed. Just don't let it settle out. It's going to take, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, depends on the temperature where you're at. For the next one, I'm just going to use a little bit of butter we had left. Get a little oil on the ramp and on the grill. Okay, we just have a little butter on them. I'm going to close this up for a little bit, then I'm going to have supper. Hang tight. Now for my fun part. How's that look, folks? Grilled ramps and a steak. That's a flat iron, if you're not familiar with it. Excellent cut. Now, does that not look delicious or what? So, I'm going to go grab a bite to eat, and then we're going to come back and make a few more recipes with some wild ramps. Okay. Man, that steak was good. Had to wait an extra day because we got a little snow yesterday just for a little while. So, after enjoying that steak, pretty late at night I had to stop. Let's get into our next recipe. This is a very, very popular one. Ramp soup. We just want to do a coarse chop. I've got some butter, got a stick of butter going in here with a few ramps. And we're going to fill this bad boy up. I'm going to make enough to can as much soup as I can. So let me get this chopped up, and we'll take you out to the next step. It's a really simple recipe. Next up, potatoes. That's going to bring the starch to it. It's going to help thicken the soup quite a bit. And since we're going to be blending everything, just a coarse chop is fine. No need to get fancy. I'm doing a large enough batch so I can at least a dozen jars of soup, a dozen pints. So I'm going to want 6-8 potatoes or more. We have 2 pretty large handfuls of ramps, maybe a little more. Okay, so here's where we are. It was about a half a pot full, maybe a little more of ramps, and the weight of the potatoes on top of it. That's our starting point. And now a little bit of broth. I'm using chicken broth. In this large of a batch, I'm going to use two containers. Okay, Okay, how about while we're waiting, we'll make one more recipe. We'll make some pesto. Really simple. We just need, small handful, about 6 ounces or so of ramps. Then we're gonna chop everything pretty coarse. Since we're just making a small batch, need about, a third of a tablespoon of olive oil. That might be just a touch much, but that's alright. About 6 ounces of ramps. Just coarse chopped, of course. Take roughly half cup of Parmesan. I like mine cheesy, so yeah, maybe I go over a little bit. Not a matter. About the same for pine nuts. You absolutely can substitute like walnuts or such. That's all up to you. Go about half a teaspoon of salt. And I don't have any lemons with me, but we'll go just a dash of lemon juice. That's all there is to it. We'll just drain it and we're done. Blend it nice and thorough, you know the drill. Yeah, let me get that out of the road. Take a look and see. Ramp pesto, super easy. Parmesan, some pine nuts, a little bit of olive oil, and a little bit of lemon. That's all there is to it. If you want to use walnuts, go for it. But this stuff will only last about a week in a refrigerator. And I plan on using this for a while, so I'm going to put it in some containers to freeze. Yeah, doesn't that look good? Our soup's almost done. So this makes the 4th recipe. Hang tight, we'll get on to the next one. We'll finish up the soup. Now to our soup. Just need to cook this until your potatoes are soft. Pretty simple, and I do believe we're there. Yeah, plenty soft. So soup's done. Let me move this cutting board out of the way. Pan's hot. Look at that goodness. The only thing left to do now is blend it. You can use your regular blender or an immersion blender. Either way. We'll get this ground up and I'll show you. And then we'll can them up in pint jars and they'll go in a pressure cooker as soon as we're done with this. these up until, pretty much till you don't see any pieces of leaf yet. Get it nice and fine. Get a little ladle here. Easier to see. So, because I want to have this stuff all year, it's time to can it up. Clean jars, of course. Will you look at that goodness, man. This is so incredible. Come next winter, I'll be enjoying this. So that's 5 quick recipes. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please do subscribe. It doesn't cost a thing. I'd sure appreciate it. And hit that like button too. We'll see you on down the road. And here's a little bit of wildlife to watch in the after.